In this video, I'm going to share a 3-part program for training natural parents of high school students who are on exchange in the United States in either a J1 program or an F1 program. For decades, we have been training students who participate in youth exchange, but now, thanks to social media, the natural parents have entered the picture and it doesn't seem possible to get them out. My goal is to turn natural parents into allies, and to do that by equipping them with realistic expectations, educating them about all aspects of the program, preparing them for what will happen in the case of a wide variety of different problems that could occur and that do occur every year in these programs, and basically to help them calm down, settle into the program, know how to support their child without interfering and causing unnecessary problems. Let me be honest. Natural parents can still cause a lot of problems, but the value of training is that we can change our conversations. Instead of having the same confrontations every year and lack of understanding, we can raise awareness to a much higher level and change the way we talk about the things that are happening over the course of a youth exchange, the way we talk with the parents, and the kind of support that we can get from them. So, as I explain the training, I think you will see how it can help. My name is Brenda Padilla Erickson. I'm a specialist in cultural diversity from Seattle, living in Spain for the past 25 years, and I develop training programs for youth exchange, for natural parents, for the students themselves, and for all the personnel working in agencies that need to manage the exchange, manage the parents, manage the students, and interface with the United States. So let's switch to the PowerPoint and see what this training program looks like. So let's start by thinking about how natural parents today, in the age of social media, are affecting us at work. Those of us who work in exchange programs. They're draining our resources, our energy, our time, and they're interfering with host families and with schools. So this is a very important problem, and it only seems to grow every year. In the good old days, we saw those kids get on the airplane and leave their parents for the States and then join their program, and basically it wasn't very easy for parents to get involved. But today, the parents have a sort of 24/7 reality show, and it is featuring their child. So this is very difficult. Of course, we'd like them to just turn off those cameras and go back to the old days, but it's not that easy. So when the parents are watching this program on their phones and on their devices, other devices, basically they're wondering, what is going on here? And is there a real problem that we should be solving? And the first thing they do is try to figure out if what's happening is normal. And they've got their bell curve to sort of gauge the normality of anything happening in their home country. And they try to apply that to what's going on with what they're hearing from their child. And they check in with friends and with family and with coworkers, and basically looking to find someone to confirm their perceptions and help them understand and make sense of everything. So parents, very quickly, I'm finding that the natural parents end up in this state of sort of emergency, red alert. They need help. They don't know what's going on. And of course, that's a very difficult feeling to cope with when your child is on the other side of the world. The parents are experiencing information overload. This is an unnatural situation. They should not be given so much information out of context about what's happening with their child's participation in a program on the other side of the world. The parents are also going through secondhand culture shock, and it's much worse than firsthand culture shock, where you're there and you can find ways to cope and adapt and get used to the culture where you're living or working or studying. The parents have this kind of secondhand culture shock that it becomes chronic. If they don't solve and resolve their issues and the things that they don't understand, it eats on them and it drives them a little crazy. So I find that natural parents today are suffering in many situations unnecessarily often. They just simply don't understand what's going on and they're trying to make sense of it. And so I propose that they need a kind of vaccine program. They need doses injections of reality, real expectations, realistic expectations, real information about what it means to participate in one of these programs, what the adaptation process is like. This is what I'm going to show here is the vaccine program that I have been developing for the past 10 years and delivering to parents and improving it every year and finding that you really do get a lot of value out of this investment because you help the parents to calm down and become better participants in the program. And as I always say, whether or not we like them to be participants, they're there. So what is this vaccine? Well, the program has 3 parts: a culture shock module, a problem-solving module, and it also has a sharing custody module, because I say that it's really like they're sharing custody of their child during this program. So the first shot basically focuses on culture shock as a normal stage, this sort of roller coaster their child will be on, and that they could be watching on this 24/7 reality show all the time and really torturing themselves if that's what they choose to do. They also need very concrete training about specific surprises, specific shocks that will be difficult for people in their culture to accept, but that are perfectly normal in the United States. And finally, to motivate them, they need a lot of training and help to understand the benefits, exactly what their child gets from going through this culture shock process, and the benefits of them allowing their child to go through this without interfering and intervening. So the culture shock stage, they need to understand that it's at this point of the roller coaster where their child is going to connect with them. And this is what they're going to see. If we prepare them for that with a dose, an injection of reality, they can mentally fortify themselves for this type of situation. The concrete culture shocks, I take natural parents through specific aspects of American culture that I know shock their culture or even people around the world, specific shocks. And what does each one of those culture shocks mean? And that's where I would have to go way more into depth if I were to explain this, but there's a whole series of really interesting culture shocks that you can use to educate parents, and they very much appreciate it. So basically, concrete culture shocks, I take them through, like I say, a list, and I just go through those shocks one at a time and work through them and develop them and help them see them for what they are and help them to come to grips with the reality, what they mean, and to sort of just desensitize them to the shock factor. Show them that what their children will be looking like and feeling like as they try to adapt to these things sometimes. It's normal. And it's exactly what you should expect. So the part about benefits is helping them to understand the challenge facing their child in adapting to another culture, and that it really does hold great benefits. And I try to go through the benefits that each one of the individual shocks give their child, because that's where the parents really start to grasp the value of this exchange and what their child can get out of it. So the second part of the program is problem solving. This is a whole nother module, and it takes its own time to go through. I like to let the first dose sink in for a few weeks and then get into the second dose. So the parents need to know that when problems strike, their child is going to automatically connect with them, and these are the faces that they're going to see, and they need to be prepared for that. They need very clear, careful training about the problems that really happen in an exchange program. When I have parents work together in groups and brainstorm the problems that they think will happen, it's really quite funny to match that with the reality of what we really face in exchange programs. It's a very useful exercise. But from there, you can actually take them through what the real problems actually look like, help them understand that problems are challenges, or remind them of this, and that challenges are opportunities. And then this is what has to be sort of the central axis of the whole training, is just the kind of opportunities that are available when they relax into the program and allow their child to use the resources that are available to solve problems. They need to go through all kinds of specific problems, or challenges, just like they go through the culture shocks. They need to understand the reality of medical and health challenges, and even using the insurance. Academic challenges, which often they just do not expect and cannot even imagine. personal challenges that young people face when they're in another country far away and making it on their own and learning to fly, use their wings for the first time as they jump out of the nest. Family challenges that arise. They need to get ready to start thinking about this, and we'll look at it more in the third module. Behavioral challenges. I find that most of the parents who send their kids are confident that their kids are really good kids because they are in their home country and they really don't believe that any behavioral challenges could occur. Written warning challenges. It's hard for people from other cultures to interpret the warnings, the written warnings, letters of encouragement, other types of things that arise or come out in the program. They need to understand these and be ready for them. Communication challenges. Intercultural communication is a whole different ballgame, and the parents are usually not at all prepared for what it means to communicate across cultures, the challenges their child faces, that their child will have to learn to overcome and adapt to and resolve, and the challenges that they would face if they were trying to communicate with Americans directly, no matter how good their English is, to try to help them stand back and let the experts take control. And then just the everyday challenges that their child will face, that it's so normal. Everything from what to have to breakfast to how to cross the street is something new in a different culture, and that's just very normal. So the problems are challenges. We have to keep reminding the parents throughout the training, and those challenges are amazing opportunities, and it's really important to help them see the types of practical skills, the ways their child is going to grow in maturity, how they're going to become more resilient, become more creative, and develop their critical thinking skills, and even become happier, because as they overcome these challenges, they become stronger and their self-esteem grows, and they learn techniques for being happy for the rest of their life. The third part of this vaccination program is what I call shared custody, and boy, is this important. The first 2 doses of the vaccine prepare parents for this, and this third dose is really it's just really focusing in on this sharing your child with a family on the other side of the world. And by this point in the training, parents are really ready for this. Again, I give them a few weeks or even a couple weeks just to let the other dose sink in, let them think about it. And that gives us also time for kind of spaced learning, and then to review a little bit and then take off into this new area. So, shared custody. The big problem that the natural parents have in interpreting the news that their children give them from the other side of the world is what is normal. They're using those bell curves that they have for the wide variety, the variation of normal in their own culture, and they're completely lost. They don't know what it all means and what's normal and what's not. So one of the most frequent things I have parents telling me is, this is surreal. This is bizarre. This makes absolutely no sense. You're not going to believe what I'm going to tell you. And then when they tell me, I'll say, well, actually, that is not surreal. That is within the range of normal in the United States. And then we start settling into what that means. So they need training for family and the roles family play in the United States, relationships in the family. The expectations that Americans have of teenagers can be very, very different from what is in their home country. Rules and consequences in the States within the context of the family. This is very important. It's so culture bound. Lifestyles, food, hygiene, and a million other factors in the lifestyle that can be considered really strange by the natural parents, and they need to be ready for it. Communication within the family, including the types of tones of voice people use with children, and the different range of normal, and so much more. They need to understand what American families expect, what might surprise them, what surprised parents in their country year after year, and what is normal. They also need to know what kind of relationship should they be having with Americans. I just did a very interesting activity with a group of natural parents here in Spain, and I had them work together to make a word cloud using adjectives to describe the type of relationship that they hoped to have with the American family. And it was so based on Mediterranean values, and we really had to work on changing their picture of what the relationship might be and opening their minds to a much wider range of possible relationships. What role do they play? They really need a lot of specific information, but very practical training for this role that they're going to play. And what happens in case of problems in the family context. They need to understand the dangers of getting involved and the importance of leaving things to the experts. They need to know how to prepare their child with the right types of attitudes and habits and skills to integrate and adapt into an American family. This helps them feel much more confident and safe. I find that parents are worried about all kinds of things that have nothing to do with the success of their child. Things like packing the suitcase or which type of phone they need or what kind of bank account we should set up. And those are not the things they should be thinking about. So we really have to train them, especially nowadays when they are so overconnected. So they need pre-departure vaccines. And nowadays, thanks to the way things are developing with remote working and with the ability to do Zoom trainings and things like that, we can give parents monthly booster shots. I am providing training in Spain online, and it is fantastic. It's amazing what you can do, and I'm finding that if the trainings are dynamic and exciting, the parents really sign up. They really get involved. They really have a lot of questions, and they are so grateful. And my experience training the parents, even before we were working with Zoom, is that every year I was able to get better results, create better conversations with the parents when things happen during the exchange. It really helps to have them mentally prepared and more on board and understanding the rules of the game. So here is to the future of youth exchange. I hope you have enjoyed this presentation, and I hope it gives you a lot of good ideas. What would happen if the natural parents of the students in your program went through this kind of training? Do you think it could help them to be more understanding, to have more realistic expectations, and to basically support your program better? As I said at the beginning, training the natural parents does not eradicate problems, just like training the students does not eradicate problems, but it does change the conversation. It makes it much easier to deal with them, and it's very important to introduce in their minds an element of doubt about their ability to decide what is going on in the United States. It's important to make them question whether or not their friends and family in their home country are actually the best guides to help them decide what is normal, right, and correct. So this training has a lot of benefits, but the main benefit is simply helping the parents become better participants, whether we want them to be participants or not. I'd like to congratulate you for taking this time to think about what a natural parent training program might look like. If you'd like more information about my programs and about the different types of exchange trainings I develop, visit me at my website, and in the description below this video, you've got my email. Send me a message. I would love to hear from you. Thank you so much, and good luck with your exchanges.